man. Dralambe, 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 trampada.
31. Like, that is very young. You could have kept going for a few more years.
Everybody keeps asking me, like, why did you retire? And the main reason, I remember I was talking to Michael Johnson, and I was like, why did you retire? You were at the top of your game, and he said, I'd done everything I wanted to do, and I had no motivation. You know what I mean? And when I got to, after the Rio Olympics, that's exactly how I felt. Because my main aim was to win 3 Olympics. That's what I wanted to do, set the bar high. And after that, my motivation kind of just went whoosh. So for me, it's, if you have no motivation to do anything, it doesn't make any sense because you're not going to put your 100% into it.
It seems inconceivable now, but presumably someone at some point will beat your world record.
You can see into the future?
Well,
I don't feel so. I don't feel so. That's so confident I am right now.
Lifetime working to build house and family. You approaching now, you done with 60. Now it's time to be happy. Spend your money once you're hungry. Just study acting but price. Just leave us something to get buried. Time for pensioners to live nice. If you're feeling for pork chops and lobsters, eat what you want to eat. But with brandy and whiskey you're drinking, and every pack of meat stack up. Spend your money, bend your back. Jamaica, try to skip your back when you're dancing. In the soca fit when you're dancing. And you start to start pop your champagne that you hear. Now it's time to cock up your rear when you're dancing. In the soca fit when you're dancing. And you start to sweat when your pension and NIS. Buy clothes and look the best. Pay your bills and get more tax. Don't leave no set of money in the bank. Because you retire, that don't mean you expire. Not because you retire, that don't mean you expire. Groovement, play the music. It's back on all time. Come in. Parties on a rain. Start to dress and pick up your cane. Defecting from town to the country. No more clocking card again. You make them secure with grandchildren. Now it's time to be happy. You're taking any grant from them. Make sure it's currency. As you reach the month of October, you're so cool in the days. Take your phone, call up a partner. Lock the door, open the gate, spend your money. Bend your back. Jamaica, try to skip your back when you're dancing. In the soca fit when you're dancing. And you start to sweat, pop your champagne that you hear. Now it's time to cock up your rear when you're dancing. In the soca fit when you're dancing. And you start to sweat when your pension and NIS. Buy clothes and look the best. Pay your bills and get your thanks. Don't leave no set of money in the bank. Because you retire, that don't mean you expire. Not because you retire, that don't mean you expire. Groovement, we taught them how to party. We took them to Peace Carnival, remember that? Watchmen, hear this. Always talking about your pension, asking you for the PIN card. They want to carry you to the doctor, but your house they want it bad. When they ask to get in property, to treat you best, you want them know. And when they home, sit down and plotting, you win the first time you winding low. Tell them you need a driver to take back you and your wife. And it's the whole night you're drinking, you are taking no chance with your life and your money. Bend your back. arthritis keep your back when you're dancing. In the soca fit when you're dancing. And your status red pop your champagne. Dye your hair. Now what's that to cock up your breath?
It's so funny. I'll tell you a funny story later. I can't have people waiting and tell you foolishness, right? But I just buck up that show there. And it landed just at a time when we agreed that we were going to talk about something that we all need to have this conversation about sooner rather than later. But of course, I think as long as you're alive, you can talk about it. Maybe you have lost some of the advantages by not talking earlier, but it's always a good thing to find reliable, well-learned, and compassionate help. Now, people are going to be soft on you, but tell you the truth, hard truth, but also compassionate to help you and walk through. And we're very, very, very blessed to have such a presence on Palav today. Our guest for the Long Bench segment today, she's an attorney at law, an Eisenhower Fellowship Fellow, president of the Pension Industry Association of Jamaica, PIAJ. She's one of Jamaica's leading voices on retirement security, pension reform, inclusive long-term savings, mother, strong advocate for women. She brings both professional expertise and lived experience to her work, particularly in addressing the structural gaps that leave women more vulnerable in retirement due to caregiving responsibilities. You ever notice they just drop on the woman as expected? It's an odd thing. We need to kind of rebalance that. Man have care. Why are we afraid to show it? I don't know. We have to buck the cultural foolishness sometimes and just do what we have to do. Anyway, let me get back on track. That's what retirees do, right? We go off track. It interrupts careers very often, and but there's longer life expectancy. The perspective shares her policy advocacy and public education efforts, grounding them in real family and societal facts. We love facts. We love the fact that it is grounded in reality. It does not hurt at all that she's an attorney at law because this is a legal matter. You have to know it's not about who feel how them feel. Thank you and welcome. Thank you for joining us, Counsel. How are you doing?
I'm well, Gerry. Thank you for having me.
It's a privilege and a pleasure. I'm just happy that you're so passionate about this because you could go ahead, get your credentials and work honestly and hard, but not necessarily also have a passion for something that affects a lot of people and will hopefully help them to course correct. Am I right when I say it like that?
Yes, thank you for that. I do feel that it's God has a funny sense of humor because
Yes.
two things I dread. One is getting old and one is saving. I do not like to save, Jerry. That's not something that
Oh,
comes naturally
gosh.
to me. And I don't like the idea of getting old. And yet God has definitely inspired me and directed me to encourage people to save so that they're able to live a dignified life in retirement. It's quite funny. But yes, I actually have had to really change my savings and financial habits now that as I started to learn and understand the importance of retirement security. And so as much as I don't like putting away money for a much later time, I love
Yes.
to spend it now. I do have, I've had to really incorporate that fiscal discipline for myself. And I have said to people, and I'm sure a number of people who lived a great life when they were working,
Yes.
traveled, had nice parties, went on vacations, etc. And then they hit retirement and they just didn't plan properly. They may have had something put aside, but it's just not enough because the reality is that we are living 2 to 3 decades in retirement after our formal working life. So people are not living for maybe another 5 or 6 years. You're
Right.
living until you're 70, if you're 80 or 90, and you have to contemplate what life is going to look like when, old age circumstances arise. For example, ill health issues. You have to ensure you have housing security in place and you don't have a steady stream of income anymore. So how do we ensure that we replace that income in a steady, reliable way?
Your pursuit of advocacy as a primary career that predated your link with the retirement process, the pensions and so on.
No. So I was called to the bar in 2003. And so that was a time when they allowed students straight from high school So I actually went straight from Campion into the Faculty of Law and started working at Miles Fletcher and Gordon. That was my first job. And within a year of starting there was when the Pensions Act came into force. And that was
Oh.
around 2004, right? And that was
Mm-hmm.
the first time we had a regulatory framework, like a statute that
Mm-hmm.
dealt with regulating private sector pension plans.
Yes.
Before 2004, it was just really specific provisions in the Income Tax Act that dealt with the circumstances under which a pension arrangement could get a tax benefit. But in
Mm-hmm.
terms of monitoring and regulating trustees, how the fund must be structured, the certain conditions, protections for beneficiaries, etc., we didn't have that. So
Mm-hmm.
2004 was when the Pensions Act came into force, and my firm at the time started a pensions law practice group. And I was the
Mm-hmm.
associate who was a part of the pensions law practice group. So that was how it started in terms of my introduction to pensions law. And pensions
Mm-hmm.
law as an area of practice was brand new for Jamaica, because again it really was pensions law under the act itself, because before it was really just the Income Tax Act and just general trust law principles. So
Mm-hmm.
I came in as an associate, and around that time was when Derek Jones, he was a partner at Myers at the time, well-known attorney, former president of the Bar Association,
Oh,
etc.
yes.
Right. He said, if we're going, this is a whole game, this is a major shift in the landscape for the operation of pension plans. I think an association should be formed to kind of, galvanize and bring together stakeholders in the pension industry, because we're going to have to interface with the regulator, and let's do it as a collective. So he established, it was his brainchild, for the Pension Funds Association of Jamaica. It
Mm-hmm.
later became the Pension Industry Association, because pension funds was a bit of a misnomer, because it was more than
Right.
just pension funds. And so I started as a little associate, following behind Derek Jones to these meetings when we were setting up the Pension Funds Association, when the act had just come into force and people were trying to wrap their head around this new regulatory regime.
Yes.
And it's just been over the years between taking notes as an associate to then eventually becoming a director of the association. And now I've been the president for about 8 years now.
My
And
goodness.
so we're very proud of the work we have done, because Gerry, when we first started, if we are honest, it was that we were a very reactive association.
Mm.
The FSC put out a bulletin, we reacted. If there was a change to the legislation, we reacted. We responded. At some point, I hope we can have an opportunity to talk about the initiatives we've rolled out
Yes.
to widen coverage
Of
and improve
course.
sustainability of pensions for Jamaicans.
Of course. Definitely we'll have to get into that. People need to
So I was an
understand.
attorney long before I started this advocacy work.
But
Sorry.
but it but you it, but the trajectory was laid out for you. If you believe in God, God is that. Psst, aye, look at me, look here. And
Exactly. So
ordered
God
your
was working
steps.
it out. Yes,
He's
I
ordering
must
your
tell you. And like
steps.
I said, it is the funniest thing, because God is something else. Because He's like, okay, you don't like to save, well, watch me and you. Oh, okay, you think getting all you want, you no. It's He really is. It's quite. I chuckle at often when I reflect, and then even when the opportunity to become president came up, there are lots of people around me who are like, no, 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 you're too busy,
Hmm.
you have so much going on with your practice, etc. And honestly, Gerry, it has been such a life-changing experience for me
Mm.
personally, and
Yes.
I have seen the impact the association has had on
Yes.
the landscape in terms of the policy advocacy that we have put in place, the changes that we have effected. There are a lot
Hmm.
of things that you will see announced. I shouldn't say a lot. I don't want to overstate it, but there are things that you will see announced or changes in the regulatory regime, and it is the PIAJ behind the scenes pushing and writing and prodding and lobbying to get change. So we've done
Hmm.
a lot. There's a whole lot more work to do, because as it stands now, 18% of workers in the working formal labor force are in a pension arrangement. 18%, and that's
Hmm.
when we include the persons in the tourism sector, public sector workers who are in a pension arrangement, and private sector workers. We are only at 18%.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
rough. That's rough. That's rough. That's rough. So that belies the question that was coming. That's why our pensions a national development issue. Clearly, there's a thing called the social safety net that already creaking and under pressure.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, it's about to pop down any minute now. And no matter
Yes.
how well run it is, I don't think anyone projects anything of fiscal responsibility with that much exposure.
Correct. So the NIS, of more than 50% of the former labor force are enrolled in the NIS, but you're correct. The NIS benefit as a pension benefit is not a lot of money. And it is a social security benefit,
Right.
meaning it's not necessarily a function of how much you have put in. It's more, you see what I'm saying? There is
Oh,
a
yes. Yes.
formula, right? Because it is to ensure that those at the lower end of the spectrum, lower end of the economic spectrum, are able to get a better benefit than, let's say, you and somebody else. But
Right.
it's so there's NIS. That's the first, what we call the first pillar. And let me just say, I don't want to get too technical, but we have what's called a 3-pillar system of
Okay.
pensions in Jamaica.
Yes.
And the 3-pillar, if I go to any international conference, any space where we're talking about pensions, which by the way gets me very, very excited. So I love to go to these conferences.
Yes.
And somebody says, tell me about the pension system in Jamaica. If I say to that person, in Jamaica, we have a 3-pillar system, they know exactly what that means because it's a term that has global application and understanding.
Sure.
It means that you have your social security as your first pillar, which is what we have, that's NIS. And we need to remember that NIS is not just a pension benefit. There are funeral benefits, there are disability benefits as well.
Right.
So people need to get informed around, what they can claim. And all of that information is on the NIS website. Then the second pillar is private sector pension. So that's if you work at, ABC Limited, and ABC Limited has a pension plan, you join the pension plan, you're in a private sector pension plan. Or if ABC Limited does not have a pension plan, or you're not eligible to join, or you're self-employed, you can go to any of the 13 retirement scheme providers. And all 13 retirement scheme providers in Jamaica are members of the PIAJ. You can go on our website. It's very easy to navigate. And there's a page there with all of their logos. So you don't have to figure out the 13. They're all there. The logos are there. You click on the logo and it will take you to the website of, Proven, NCB, JMMB, etc. You get taken directly to our website and you can see all the information there. So that's phase two, that's pillar 2.
What's the URL? What's the URL for your website? It's
PIAJ.org.
Okay.
PIAJ.org. Boy, let me double check. Oh, yes. PIAJ.org, yes.
Yes, okay.
So anyway, that's
We're having some dropouts on the signal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, hearing you nice and clear. No. Yes.
Right. So just confirming, it's PIAJ.org. All the retirement scheme provider logos are there. You just click on the logo, it will take you to their website. And there's also additional information around their advocacy work, our work on auto enrollment, as well as just, PIAJ in the news sort of thing.
Right.
And so that's pillar 2, right? So pillar 2 is private sector pensions.
Right.
Pillar 1 is NIS, and then pillar 3 is additional savings. Any additional savings you can do, right? That's your discretionary voluntary savings if you're able to. And so that's what a 3-pillar system looks like, and that's what we have in Jamaica. But because NIS doesn't really give you doesn't give you a pension that you can live on.
Yeah, it's safety net. There's a reason they call it a safety net. It have holes in there, but it will catch you if you're gone. If you're gone too bad, you're not gonna pop your neck. It catch you up. And we don't want to go for the lowest common denominator. We're happy that we do have a social safety net and that there's that, because there will always be variances in society, but I don't know anybody who aims for that, but it's good to know that it is there case it's
as
when
your first
needed.
stop, right?
Yes.
And I love that. I love how your reference to the net and what a net does and what it doesn't do. I love that. And then so we have the 3-pillar system. It is the pillar 2. That's where we are at the 18%. Where, like I said, private sector workers, public sector workers in the public sector pension plan, and your tourism workers pension scheme, which, by the way, is getting more and more tourism workers are joining the tourism workers pension scheme, and I encourage them to, because once you join, your employer, if you have an employer, is required to participate. They must match the contribution to a point. And so that's a good benefit for you. And people need to understand that is a big benefit when you are part of your employer's pension arrangement. If your employer has a pension plan, don't grumble. Be happy, be excited. Because when you put money in, they're obligated to put money in as well. That's free money. Before you even start to get a return on interest or dividends, your money is sometimes doubled.
That's it.
in some of your traditional DC plans, etc. So it's a good thing when your employer has a pension plan. But remember, employers don't have to have a pension plan in Jamaica. In some countries, employers are mandated to have a pension arrangement, some form of retirement plan, but that's not an obligation in Jamaica for employers. It's not a tax on employers. And so where your employer doesn't have one, or you're self-employed, or you're not eligible to join it, I encourage your listeners, please go and join one of the retirement schemes. Any of them. Think of a financial institution in Jamaica, they have a retirement scheme.
Wow,
So,
it's
so
serious,
you
serious
have
stuff.
options.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. What is there any? You ever thinking about too many things at the same time, and then you get a bottleneck. I had one of those bottleneck moments, but it's fine. Yeah, is there any reason why it was never, was it just mooted and not articulated, or it just never wasn't a popular idea that this should be a required condition that there is a.
Well, historically it never has been, and I think it's a recognition that employers ought to have some flexibility around how they formulate their remuneration packages for their employees. So some employers will go, in a particular direction. There are some employers who they may not set up their own, bespoke pension arrangement, the ABC limited pension arrangement, but they will say to their employees, if you join a retirement scheme, I will contribute something to that scheme. And that's written into the employment contract. But for some employers, it's not a burden they can take on.
Right,
so they just simply can't do it. And so I think there was just a sensitivity, and there's been a sensitivity over the years. I don't know if we would eventually move in that direction. So where we are now is a lot more of an encouraging, environment. We're trying to facilitate the participation of employers. We're trying to make it smoother, less friction with the regulator. That's what one of the areas in which we advocate for with the PIAJ. But also, when we get to auto enrollment, I'd love to have a minute to talk about that.
Sure.
Well, I don't know if this is a good time, but should I go ahead and speak on that?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, great.
You can
Okay,
feel free to touch that
started
because I think it's a logical flow. I think anybody who's been listening, it drops perfectly right there.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, perfect. And I agree with you. So what auto enrollment, this is a major, massive project of the PIAJ, and we have gotten so far with it. I'm so excited. So what auto enrollment, and again, it's not completely novel. We've designed it in a particular way to fit in the Jamaican context. But auto enrollment as a concept is something that has been employed by a number, no pun intended, by a number of countries around the world. But what it says is that if your employer doesn't have a pension plan, remember in Jamaica you don't have to have one. If your employer doesn't have a pension plan or you're not eligible to join, the employer must, as a minimum, as a statutory minimum, this is not the law yet, this is where we are advocating, must be obligated to put you in the pension, in a retirement scheme. So you come along, you go to ABC Limited. ABC Limited does not have a pension plan. They must enroll Gerry. They must say, Gerry, I'm going to put you in the proven pension plan. I'm going to put you in the NCB pension plan.
Right.
But it's not a tax. The employer doesn't have to contribute to the NCB retirement scheme or the JMMB retirement scheme.
Right.
Doesn't have to contribute. So it's not a tax on the employer. It's not a fiscal burden on the employer. All the employer has to do is send your details over, enroll you, and deduct from your salary a minimum of 3% of your salary,
yes,
and pass it over to the retirement scheme of whichever choice of the 13. And
your
the employer
your employer is being an exemplary corporate citizen.
Right,
what I mean?
facilitator.
If they can't afford it, they should point you to say, you have the choices, but it's a good thing to encourage.
But it's a little bit more than pointing. It's actually putting you in the retirement scheme. But the overarching principle is that all we have done is flipping the choice architecture. Rather than having an opt-in regime right now where you have to go and opt to go into a retirement scheme, the employer will put you in and you can always opt out. Got you. And that's what I want to emphasize. It's not a tax on the employer and not a tax on the employee either. Right. But it's just saying, you know what? Rather than telling you about the virtues of a pension arrangement and why you should join a retirement scheme, we will put you in a retirement scheme. You don't like it, you can come out. But most people, what studies have shown when you look at the behavioral science behind it, is that most people with the same procrastination that prevails why they don't take the step to opt in the first place on their own initiative, they don't take the step to opt out. And very few, and studies have shown countries around the world that have taken this auto-enrollment approach, the opt-out rates are maybe maximum 30%. There's one outlier of a country, but generally you're between a 10% to 30%. So maybe a third of people will opt out. But another design feature of our proposal and many other countries is auto re-enrollment. So you can opt out in 2026, no problem. But come January 2027, we're putting it back in. Because when you opt out, a lot of times people opt out because of their present circumstances.
Right.
Oh my goodness, my roof needs to fix, my car tire, whatever, my children's school fee, my son going off to college. I cannot take any deductions from my salary, so I'm going to opt out of this retirement scheme because it's your right. It's not a tax. But we realize that people do want to save. Jamaicans are savers, when you think of the number of informal partner schemes we have around the place.
Oh, yes.
Jamaicans love to save. People save in them pan, in them mattress, all manner of place. We save, right? We have our different informal structures, but Jamaicans are savers,
yes.
Right?
True.
And so we part of the design features is a auto re-enrollment where no problem, you want to come out in 2026, we're going to put you back in 2027. We're going to auto re-enroll you, and then we're going to escalate that 3% contribution. Every year is going to go up by 0.5%, but you can always freeze it. If it gets to 5% and you're like, I don't want to put more than 5% of my salary, no problem. Because we want to make sure that it works for you. It's not to be burdensome, it is to be facilitative, flipping the choice architecture.
You know what I love about this? Is what I call the de-demification of an arrangement. In other words, we like to blame us for the name them.
Yeah.
And if you are fully, and you can be reinstalled, who are you going to blame? I don't think people sit around and wait to blame. It's just it's a thing about caution. We're cautious about stuff, and we so I'm not into this umbrella bashing of anybody, let alone the place where we born and grow and live and whatever. I'm just saying that we operate a little differently based on historicity. And I think if we always have a say, we're more likely to stay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The them thing, we have fight the them. When them say, I saw them say, them matter to that. And it's a kind of underlying resentment that came out of the historical things. And things are deep, People say forget it because it's 100 years. No, sir. Things that really scar people don't necessarily go away like that.
Yes. And I want to just make a point, along your lines. Culture eats policy for breakfast. True. So we can sit in rooms, and think, oh my gosh, we know what's good for the people. Yes. We can, we're going to design an auto-enrollment plan that's going to fix or help the problem. But the reality is that, and I have to credit the former Minister of Finance, because when I reached out to him about auto-enrollment, he said, go and talk to the stakeholders. Go and tell me what the unions are saying about this. Talk to the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. Come back to me and tell me what people are saying, because I need to know if people would be open to this.
Great step. We have a compulsory break.
Okay,
to keep the station on the air. We soon come.
All right.
You're in touch with Radio Jamaica 94 FM. Shop hyproace.com and receive a free 7-day delivery island-wide. Hypro Ace Super Center, it's all here. The time by Hypro Ace Super Center is 2:01.
Hey, my peeps, get this on the regular. Your HIV status if you consider. The least you ever test once a year. Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Cause it might not show up on your timeline and you learn too late, so you're out of time. A progressive future, mandatory. Really long life, our story. You hear?
Remember, update your status in a real life. Go HIV test today.
Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Really long life, our story. Real long life, we say youth, coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
More parts, more brands, same Berts you trust. From Audi to BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Volkswagen, we bring premium German service and suspension parts straight from Europe to Yard. No waiting on imports, no delays, just quality parts available when you want them. Visit any of our locations. Highlands, Camp Road, Malines Road, or Hagley Park today. More parts, more brands, same Burt's. It hurts if you don't check Burt's.
On Saturday, February 28, the Gibson McCook Relays are coming to your screen live on pay-per-view on One Spot Media. Catch the early bird special, just US $10.99, available until February 10. After that, secure a regular ticket for US $12.99. And here's a special bonus. Buy one Gibson McCook Relays pay-per-view ticket and get 10% off Issa Grace Kennedy Champs pay-per-view season passes. It's one day, one track, but endless glory. The Gibson McCook Relays. Order now and witness greatness.
Feisty, friendly, funny. G-Mac is the man. G-Mac is the man. Dralambe, 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 Trampala.
Those are the 4 types of retirement plan Jamaicans have, which is the successful planners. Them they're the one where you see a fly up and down. They need no money, no need no help. Them get it right. Them have assets to take care of them. You have the ones with the transitional plans. Them are the one who understand, say, listen, we can't do this favor, we can't go work favor, so I'm going to get myself educated and start to do the right thing. Now you have the one with the children's retirement plan, running at them one day all the time. Them decide to picnic to take care of them and picnic to take care of them picnic too. And coming in at number 1, you have the community retirement plan, and that's what everybody will take care of you. The government, taxpayer, the church, GoFundMe, everybody will give you something, even though you're dead on the earth for 60 years now, I don't know.
I turned 62 a couple of weeks ago. I keep on saying it.
Congratulations.
I keep on saying, well, you'll probably withdraw that if you know what I'm doing. But but that one hit hard. But the truth does hit hard.
Yes.
And in a full, so that's the thing about comedy, Comedy can seem rude, crude, offensive, all kind of things. But usually you don't care unless there's an element of truth.
Yeah.
And there is yes. It becomes a punchline, and the punchline is not personal. It's to make the point so you get it. And then it kind of makes you look at yourself. And I said, I toyed with that one back and forth. And I said, okay, I'm in this position. It's not personal, it's a fact. And at the very least, I can adjust what I can adjust now and be a disciple and an apostle to everybody who's working, younger or whatever, because the fact that get it right don't mean that you can't help somebody get it right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we say, we have to ensure when we design these initiatives and proposals, we think about the people and we ensure we understand the cultural context, because Jamaica is a very nuanced, our labor force is very nuanced. We don't have, right, there are different types of workers. And even within the context of saying somebody's, let's say, a contract worker, there are different types of contract workers. Oh, I'm an informal worker. You have informal and you have really informal. So, I mean, it's varied, and there's no one specific answer to the problem of low coverage. So auto enrollment, we believe, just back of the envelope calculations, if successfully rolled out and quickly, we could see coverage moving from like 18% to as close to 40%, 40% of coverage, if it has the kind of impact that we're hoping it would have. But before the break, I was saying that the former Minister of Finance had said, I want to know what stakeholders are thinking about this.
Sure.
And so we went on a whole, what I call a roadshow, familiarizing the different stakeholder groups. I think we met with every single association that was out there. And it was a resounding support. I mean, overwhelming. And it was excellent feedback as well that enabled us to tweak some of the design features of the auto enrollment proposal. So when we finally had audience with the Minister of Finance again and walked him through the proposal, and where he got the green light, which was 2 years ago, he gave the green light for cabinet submissions to be drafted. And I'll tell you, Gerry, I had been working with my team at with the PIAJ on this for what had been close to maybe 2 years, going on 3 years. And I sat in my car in the parking lot of the Ministry of Finance after the meeting. And I cried. I was just so happy. Yeah, and
I was hoping that's what you would say, because I'm realizing the older I get is that tears don't have no schedule except to talk to you. Tears
Yeah.
are a language, you know?
I love that. I love that. It is. And I just felt like, wow, it felt good. And I want you and your listeners to understand, I don't get paid to do this, Whether you have a pension plan or nobody in Jamaica has a pension, I don't affect $1 in my pocket, I don't sell pensions. I don't sell a pension product. I don't have, there's no vested financial interest I have. That's why you must know that God tell me to do this, because not there. I am not motivated by any financial or economic gain. It is just a part of nation building. This is my contribution to nation building. And I was so happy that the minister saw it. And I am doubly happy that the Minister of Finance, Favour Williams, she has endorsed it. She has agreed with it. She has not, as far as she's concerned, she's committed to continuing the work, because now that they've gotten the green light, it's now for cabinet submissions to be drafted. So now it's in the ministry's hands, really, because we have a full proposal. They've accepted the proposal. They've heard from other, players who are involved in the legislative process, and they're ready to draft the cabinet submissions. But of course, a number of things have come up along the way. Melissa recently being the latest in a list of things that have kind of had to take the ministry's attention. But we're at the place of cabinet submissions being drafted. So we're at the legislative process place where now we are hoping, please, Lord, let it happen quickly, that eventually this will quickly come into law, where it will be a statutory obligation for an employer to put you in a pension plan if they have taken the decision not to have one for themselves, for their own company. And that's okay. But take that step for someone, and we really do expect to see auto enrollment as a game changer in Jamaica. And we're doing a number of other things because we recognize that auto enrollment works for your formal sector, formal employer, right? Where where you work for someone and you get a paycheck and you're part of the pay as you earn system, and you deduct income taxes deducted. That system, because your pension contribution will be deducted in the same way your education tax and NIS and everything else is deducted.
Right.
But then you have informal workers. You have your gig workers who are doing their thing, and your market vendors, your coconut vendors. You have
it's a gig world.
Your taxi drivers. So how do we encourage them to get now into the formal savings net? And micro pensions is an example that we're working on, the micro pensions proposal, where we want to find ways in which we can use technology to really encourage people and prompt them and nudge them. So you go to the gas station and your gas thing come up to, let's say $10,000 or $10,500. You're being prompted to now top up another $500 to go to your retirement scheme. You go to the lotto shop, or you pick up your remittance at any local remittance collection agency, and you get out $30,000 somebody send you from. You want to put $2,000 to your pension? Because when you have a lot, $2,000 might not seem so much, and you put a little bit over, and just frequent prompts at the several points of engagement when it comes to spending your money. And prompting you to put a little aside. And that's why it's called
money.
micro.
It's still your money. We're going to hold it for you, but it's going to get a little bigger.
Right, exactly. And I want to talk about the little bigger, exactly. So that little micro, several prompts. So whereas your typical employer in a formal working arrangement would have, permanent contract, you get a salary every month. And so a deduction takes place every month. Under the micro pensions kind of arrangement, you would be prompted several times over the course of a month, right? And you would be putting a little amount. A couple of things I want to say. It's still very early in the PIAJ's research around it, because there's a lot of data that we need to gather in terms of understanding what we mean by informal workers, because we have informal can take different definitions for different people.
Sure.
And how much does that informal worker earn? Or make, that's also changes depending on who we're talking about when we say informal. And then also we have to deal with things around mistrust around the system. There are lots of people who don't want to bank in the formal space. They don't want to. They just don't want to. They don't feel comfortable. They would rather do an informal banking system in their community, where they do the community partner, or the market vendors come together and they throw a partner, the taxi drivers. They feel more comfortable. There's a lot more trust in those groupings.
Right.
And so what we want to do is encourage people to understand that if your earnings are above a certain amount, there are tax benefits that you can get. Your money isn't taxed in the same way. But there are a number of things we have to think about. when we look at the micropensions proposal. And so we're doing a lot of work where that is. But it's another example of the PIAJ being proactive. We're not just going to sit around and say, oh, coverage is at 18%. Well, oh, that's what it is. It's not our, we don't have a role to play here. We see the association as having a role at effecting and pushing for change. Auto enrollment being an example, micropensions being an example, a lot of work that we do in just public education and helping people to understand why it's important. And we can touch on the women particularly and the insecurity that they experience in retirement. Yes. I would love us to talk about that. But sure. I have had people come to me, Gerry, and I remember the most recent one was I was at the Ligani Arts Festival.
Yes.
And a lady walked up to me and she said, I've heard you on the radio, and I was already in a pension arrangement, but my mother was not. And just by virtue of hearing you on the radio, I have encouraged my mother and I've ensured she's joined a pension arrangement. And now she's doing something about her retirement security. And it's all because I heard you on the radio. You wonder sometimes if these engagements, these radio programs, you're on the TV, you write an article, if it makes a difference, but it does, it's part of the entire ecosystem of trying to effect, greater change in the area and ensuring a more resilient retirement or retirement security for us as Jamaicans. And why is it important? People might be listening and thinking, it don't matter to me. I'm a part of the ABC pension plan. My employer takes care of me. That takes care of you. Mm-hmm. But understand that if we have a situation where old age poverty continues to rise in this country, it will become a tax burden for the working class.
That's it.
We're going to have the taxes because somebody's going to have to look after our old age dependents. They can't be living on the road. So who's going to ensure that they're in a place where they have something to eat, they have housing security, etc. And that's going to be a burden on the public purse. And we as people in the labor force are going to have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So we all have a role to play. Even if our situation is secure, it's important to encourage someone who if you know that they're not in a pension arrangement, don't just say, okay, me sort out, so I don't have to think about anybody else. No, ensure those around you, because it is sad when you see people having to sell their paintings or their vehicle because they have nothing. They never planned for retirement. It really, really is a sad situation.
Mm. How late is too late, age-wise?
Well, the truth is we try to say as long as you can join the pension plan, even if it is for a year. Because there's some age. Well, let me back up. A number of thoughts running through my head.
Yes.
The maximum the normal retirement age for private sector workers has to be between 60 and 65.
Right.
So let us say one of the retirement scheme providers, let's just say a JMMB, a Proven, or NCB, they have a retirement age of 65, meaning their retirement scheme has 65. You should be able to join any time before 64, right? So because at least you'll be able to save for at least 1 year. Right. So it's not too late, even if you're just saving for a year. Right. Now, your ABC limited pension plan, your employer pension plan, so we're not talking about the retirement schemes anymore, your employer pension plan, your employer will set a retirement age between 60 or 65, somewhere between there.
Right.
More and more employers are ensuring that the retirement age is the same for men and women. Many of them are moving to 65.
Let's hold that one point. We do have to take another break. Soon come.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man.
This is 94.5 FM.
Jamaica live good, yeah. I make we enjoy life while we feel safe at night. Jamaica live good.
Jamaica, stop the killing and give up the guns. Just live good now.
The time brought to you by the Ministry of National Security and Peace is
2:15.
Jamaica, the national budget is here and it affects you, your family, your future, your community. It's all connected. Now is the time to get informed and get involved. What's new? What's changing? And how will it impact your daily life? Tune in on Tuesday, March 10 as the Honorable Favour Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, presents the 2026-27 Central Government Budget. The national budget is everybody's business. Visit mof.gov.jm for more details.
Love a woman, tell her that she's really wanted.
Have you ever been in love? Are you in love, wanting to love, or simply just a lover? Then join us on Sunny Side Up at 6:50 a.m. weekdays for The Love Spot. Enjoy as we echo your expressions of love through music for that special someone. The Love Spot, brought to you by Carib Choice Pharmacy in Portmore. WhatsApp or call them at 876-807-2180. The Love Spot, loving you every day.
Hey, my peeps, get this on the regular. Your HIV status if you consider. At least if a test once a year. Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Cause it might not show up on your timeline and you learn too late, so you're out of time. A progressive future, mandatory. Really long life, our story. You hear?
Remember, update your status in a real life. Do a HIV test today.
Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Really long life, our story. Real long life for say youth, coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
In today's economy, smart investments matter more than ever. And real estate, it's one of the best you can make. But success starts with knowledge and regulation. That's where the Real Estate Training Institute comes in. Whether you're buying, selling, or starting a career in real estate, make sure you're trained and certified. Invest in yourself. Contact the Real Estate Training Institute today. Visit reb.gov.jm to get started.
I stay friendly, funny. G-Mac is the man. G-Mac is the man. Dralambesh, 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 Palav.
It's Palav, and you're in the long bench segment of Palav, which is the bulk of it. And today we're talking about something that affects every single human being, especially if you happen to be alive. But I mean, it can affect the state of those who have passed. So it's important for everybody. Everybody. We're talking about pensions and how to set yourself, why it is important, why you should do some kind of an audit, have conversations, try to get a realistic read on what your situation is, because I think sometimes we think we know, and it's not arrogance, we just kind of want to kind of, yeah man. It's like you have too much things that go on, but prioritize it. You know, if it's about the substance of your life and the quality of your life, you have finite time, you most can take a couple minutes or half hour or something and have a proper conversation about this thing that is going to affect you one way or the other. And the affect doesn't necessarily mean bad. It means it will do something to you, with you, for you. But if you don't know, you can't do nothing about it. You can't just guess and spell. Am I right, Ms. Goff?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Ms. Sanya Goffe is the president of the Pension Industry Association of Jamaica, PIAJ. She's an attorney at law, and she is very passionate about the us thing, the one another thing, us together trying to understand how we can do better, should figure the ways of doing better, lean on each other with what we have in terms of the resources, and these resources can be just information, and the information can be about the why, the where, the what, all of them things. You know what? Not a lot of them yet, but we have a couple of quick texts here, and I want to share them with you, Ms. Goff. This one here is asking, how many pension plans can you join? Is there a limit on, do you have to only do one? Can you do more than one? Yeah. Advantage or disadvantage of joining more than one? And then the person has a third question, which is, please, what is her best contact, the person that's talking about pension? So it's stirring up the kind of response that we hope. Nothing worse than just kind of saying, yeah, you know, to me, it's better you oppose it and we can have a debate about it and use the point and counterpoint. But when people are coming through and expressing the interest, it's a good thing. This is why we do what we do, to make sure that the things that matter to people are aired with the experts like yourself, and that people show the interest and want it. So you want to, I know you have marked where you are, so as soon as you do that, we can go right back to where you were.
Sure. And I'm glad, I hope you marked it, because I'm not sure I remember where exactly I was. But yes, so let me say, right now,
yes,
you are not allowed to be an active, stress on the word active, participant in more than one arrangement. So two stresses in that statement, right now and active. So right now you cannot be an active participant. So if you are in your company's pension plan and your money is being deducted every month, etc., you can't also contribute to NCB retirement arrangements. You can't do that. You can't and let me back up a little bit. Under the Income Tax Act, the maximum contribution of your salary is 20% of your salary. And what the Income Tax Act says is that Gerry, you can contribute 10% of your earnings, and your employer can contribute a maximum of 10%, right?
Right.
That's if you're an employment arrangement. That's a total of 20. And if you're in a retirement scheme where let's say your employer doesn't have a plan or you're self-employed, you can do 20% of your earnings. Okay.
Yes.
But in the case your employer doesn't contribute 10%, because the employer doesn't have to go all the way to 10%, you can contribute a little extra once the total doesn't exceed 20%. Okay? So you can go up to 10. Let's say your employer goes up to 8. That gives you a little extra 2% that you can then contribute. But the total aggregate amount must not exceed 20%. So somebody might say, well, I'm giving 5%. My employer is giving 5%. That's 10. Can I do the other 10 somewhere else? The answer is no, not right now. But the law is changing. We expect amendments to the Pensions Act that will allow you, but it's not law yet, that will allow you to actively participate in more than one arrangement. So you can do 5% with your employer can match that 5%, and you can decide that I want to put the rest somewhere else. And you want to kind of spread your risk and diversify your options. That's great. And so you could have several, pension accounts running at the same time as you actively participate in them. That's fine, but it's not the law now.
Yes.
But it is, when I say it's pending, to be honest, it's been pending for a while, but we do expect, and the minister did say, she spoke at the PIAJ luncheon last year, and she was quite committed to bringing the act into force within the next legislative year, the upcoming legislative year. So we really are anticipating it, and when that happens, then you would be able to do it. But right now you cannot.
Yes. All right. Wonderful. All right. So the last bit is how to be able to contact you. I've typed in the PIAJ.org so that they can browse at leisure and so on.
So we have contact information on the website. So that will take you to contact information for the secretariat and so the email address there and a contact number. And if there is something specific to be directed to me or any of the members of the board, then she will direct it over to us once she gets that in the general inbox. Yeah.
Got you. What's the email for the organization that receives this info?
It's secretary. Hold on. Sorry, I want to switch screens so I can look for it, but I think it's secretariat@piaj.org.com. But let me check that for you, Gerry. Let me check it.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know what I'll do when we break next? I will go and just double check it, and then I'll put it so that in the chat, so that you have it, and then you can pin it for. But it's also on the website. So if you go on our PIAJ.org, you should get everything there, including the email. Yes.
Got you. Yeah. All right. So no, we probably both forgot exactly where you were at, but I
think I was talking about encouraging others, right? And I was saying
that was it.
And I want to just I think it would be a good segue to talk about why as women we need to make sure that this is important.
That was the thing.
Women live longer than men.
That's right.
Women live easily another 5 to 7 years longer than the average man. Women, so I'm going to throw out a bunch of statistics and then hopefully it paints the picture. Just the stats alone will paint the picture. So women live longer than men. Women will often have more old age illnesses than men.
That's all?
Women often leave the workforce, whether formally or informally, and I'll explain what I mean by informally, leave the workforce for caregiving for children, and oftentimes elderly parents or dependents, right? They will take, and so either they will actually take leave from their formal work, as in they will stop formally working, and look after children or to look after parents. Or sometimes they hold back on opportunities. So in a sense, you hold yourself back. So there is a gap in your working opportunities, your entire trajectory in the workplace slows because you don't go after opportunities because you have children, or you don't go after certain opportunities because you have responsibilities at home, looking after an aging parent. And so because of that, you are not earning as much as you probably could because you've taken a break from work or you've held back on opportunities. So you don't earn as well. Also, and this is just a global statistic. I'm not saying this is a specific statistic for Jamaica, but global averages show that men are earning more than women sometimes for the same type of work.
Yes.
And sometimes you will not even realize that you're doing the same job as your male counterpart, and for some reason they're getting more money than you. Because we don't like to talk about salaries in Jamaica. We hold it close to our chest. It's like a national state secret. We don't want to tell anybody what we earn. And so that secrecy allows sometimes these disparities to thrive.
Yes.
And there was there was an actuarial newspaper that was published in the UK, and it had a statistic that was just alarming. It was for the UK specifically. It said women would have to start working at the age of 4 to have the same pension pot as the average male counterpart. Put another way, you would have to stop working at 84, is what the article said. Now, again, we're not speaking specifically that this is a Jamaican statistic, but these are kind of global averages that have been aggregated, right? So we do recognize that there are instances where the playing field is not level for us in terms of income, in terms of salary, and in terms of opportunities, etc. So when you put all of that together, we experience as women a particular set of vulnerabilities. And so we have, and another thing as well, let me just say, we are not as, we don't take the same kind of risks when it comes to investing our money. A man will go and, put his money in a venture, put his money in the stock market. A woman might say, boy, I don't really want to do that. It's too risky. Let me put it in something a little bit more conservative. So your earnings, your returns might also be a little stymied on a comparative basis. And again, the average woman doesn't go after a job opportunity unless she can do every single thing on that job description. The average man, he could do 20% of the things on that job description. And he's like, listen, I'm going to apply. And he goes into the interview and his confidence, and he will tell the interviewer, I can't do those things. But listen, I'll learn, I'll figure it out, I'll get it done. And he can probably point to 3 or 4 other examples in his employment history where he got it done and he didn't have the full experience. As a woman, we have to do everything. We have to be able to do everything. Then we think about it. Oh my goodness, my daughter taking PEP next year. I'm going to have to look after, make sure I have time in the evening. And we overthink it and we hold back. And sometimes we are the best one for the job. But we don't give ourselves those opportunities because we don't take the same kind of bold approach. A man will walk into HR and say, I think I should get a raise. He just makes the case for a raise. He may not get it, but he's made the case. And sometimes he does. Yes. A woman, we're not going to do that. Most women are not going to knock on HR's door and say, I'd like a raise. So anyway, the point I'm making is that there are a number of things that go into the pot why we as women are in a particular seat of vulnerability. And so I really want to use this opportunity to appeal to the women who are listening. If you are not saving the maximum allowed in your pension arrangement, please save the maximum now. Start doing it now. It will make a difference because the savings are before your income is taxed. So less of your income gets taxed. The returns are tax deferred. You will be in a better position at retirement. And that extra 5%, it may feel to you that it is going to make all the difference. It will make more of a difference in the long term. And for those of your listeners who don't participate in a pension arrangement, I am encouraging you, please go on our website or go to your financial institution that you have a relationship with, inquire about the retirement scheme that they have.
Got it.
Get information, yes.
Break. Got a break. Suko.
All right.
Whatever your personal financial needs, Lasco Microfinance has a loan for you. Call or apply online today. The tie by Lasco Microfinance is
230.
Paying your business taxes has never been easier. With your MasterCard business, you have a fast, easy, and secure way to pay your taxes online, hassle-free. Because when your business runs smoothly, everything feels simpler. Enjoy the ease of doing hassle-free business, priceless. Visit Caribbean.mastercard.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Know your numbers and take control of your life. That's the key to know what you need to get your health up to speed. Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Yeah. a check. Your blood sugar and cholesterol check. We're living well when we stay on top of our health. Know your numbers and take control of your life.
Ready to secure your future? Financial success doesn't have to be complicated. For 147 years, the VM Group has been your trusted partner, transforming lives and helping Jamaicans achieve financial well-being. VM reinforces its legacy of empowerment with practical expert guidance with Your Money, Your Future, a VM Financial Empowerment series, a weekly feature during the hotline. Join us every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. as we give you the simple, actionable roadmap you need to thrive. Learn to build strong saving habits, get tips to manage debt responsibly, and set meaningful financial goals. Catch Your Money, Your Future, a VM Financial Empowerment series, every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. during Hotline on Radio Jamaica 94 FM.
I stay friendly, funny. G-Mac is the man. G-Mac is the man. Draw and bitch. Draw and bitch. Draw and bitch.
It's Palav on Radio Jamaica 94 FM, and today we're talking past, present, future. What have we done so far? What are we doing now? Where do we want to go? And that sounds vague, but no, it's in a specific, structured part of this life. And it's about making the arrangements, including pensions. What does it look like? Who is responsible in terms of which organization? Where you get your advice? What are some of the things you should check? And of course, if you have any additional questions before we're done, because we take it up to about 5 minutes to 3, then drop them. Continue to drop them in our WhatsApp, and we will continue to ask them as we go through bit by bit. Our very special guest is the president of the Pension Industry Association of Jamaica, and that is Ms. Sanya Goffe, who is a very passionate Jamaican, an attorney at law, and really, this is a mission for her. It's not just a work with a R. It's really it's a mission and your cause, right? I can feel that. You don't
Yes.
have to do, you don't have to do a thing more to convince me. I feel it. I feel it in a maximus plexus, if anything names so. But I mean, it's really very very palpable, and that's a good thing. It's wonderful. I
Thank
sometimes,
you.
yes, welcome. I sometimes clip lots of little bits from offline where people have, positive, negative, but interesting things are that we ask about. One of them was one I would have played, except that no, I don't think I need to play it. I just need to ask you, because this question now would be more relevant to Jamaicans listening right now. And the question asked in that particular YouTube clip was, can I pass my pension on to my children? And if so, how?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think the clip is maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. So it's best for us to get to ask you. You can answer far more suitably to our context than a generic
Yes.
YouTube something.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you can. So whether it is your employer superannuation fund pension plan
Yes.
or a retirement scheme, like I said, any of the 13 retirement scheme providers, you are asked at the time of enrollment, who would you like to be the beneficiaries of your pension? And you're able to indicate anyone. Now, some pension plans within the employer arrangement have what's called a spousal pension. So that particular benefit would go to your spouse, and that be whether you're civilly married or a common law arrangement. And then generally you can otherwise indicate any other person to be a beneficiary who may or may not be a dependent. Similarly with a retirement scheme, you can indicate anyone. You are encouraged to annually review your benefit statements. You're to get your benefit statements on a regular annual basis, and you're to check your benefit statement. I think you get your benefit statements quarterly, but you're supposed to check your benefit statements to ensure that who you have as the beneficiary is who you still want to have as the beneficiary. So,
That's you.
lady, the man that you thought was going to marry you and you think that everything's sort out and when you're living together and everything crisp and you put him on the benefit statement because you think everything is great, please take him off when uno done and you move out. Like, let us just keep up with the benefit statements, okay? Because too many
Keep it
times,
clean.
yeah,
Keep it clean.
keep
Yes.
up, keep it up, make sure that it is reflecting who you want on it. A lot of times, and this goes for both men and women, you know, we've had stories where a man has a lady on the thing or has his wife on the benefit statement, but they have separated. They just never got around to getting a divorce, and then he truly wants another woman who he had been living with for how many more years? The first, it's just so many complicated stories you will hear. But who is on the benefit statement is who's going to get it. It doesn't matter what the reality is on the ground, and it doesn't matter that the whole workforce, including HR, knows that somebody else is the new person. It doesn't matter. It's who's on the benefit statement. So just ensure your benefit statement accurately reflects who you wish to get your pension benefit if you were to die before your entitlement is exhausted. Also, you are allowed to indicate what proportion you want them to get. Do I want Gerry to get 10% and Sanya to get 20, etc.? If you don't indicate a proportion, the law will assume everybody's to get equally. And if your beneficiary, last point on the beneficiary point, if your beneficiary is a minor, you want your minor child to benefit, you have to also identify a guardian / trustee who will be, somebody of the age of majority who will receive the benefit on behalf of your minor child if something were to happen. So again, it has to be somebody you trust, who you know when they receive that money will, funnel it to the benefit of your minor child. Or minor beneficiary, because you don't have to be a child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen. What you've just laid down is that as some of the DJ people not here, but mainly in the UK would say that's a bar. Means when they drop bars and it resonates. Okay. That's a bar in the Black UK, meaning it resonates. It hit.
Yes.
That's why you do what you do. That's why you do what you do. I mean, my bottom jaw just drops in a good way. That it's all there. And if you also want the information in terms of the comfort, went onto the website while we're talking and drop the URL, how you can get to it, the link, and we just copied the standard number, the phone number and whatnot from the landing page. So you have that to start with, and you can just ask. There are people there who are ready and willing to help you, right, Mom?
Yes, we definitely are, and we're pretty responsive. Our secretariat is very good at monitoring the correspondence.
Fantastic.
and fun. Yes.
Fantastic. And of course, you've done the thing that is considered best practice, which is to have the standard handle for all your exposure online. So your IG, your X, and your FB are Jamaica Pensions.
Great.
So, at Jamaica Pensions. So at least you can do that if you don't want to go search through the website immediately. Yes. And then the website link would be on that on those. So you can't lose. That is the point. You can't lose. We got you. And we still have a little more time. So more questions, more observations, please. Here's another one that just dropped in. It says, I was working with a company that offered a pension fund. I decided to contribute 5% voluntary. When the scheme wound up, I was able to invest my 5% in one of the investment companies. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And I will tell you, and I want to also be very real with your listeners.
Sure.
It's important to be authentic when you have these conversations. Definitely. The reality is that when I left my first employer, and I saw that benefit statement of what I was able to take as cash, because sometimes, depending on the arrangement, you might be able to take some as cash, or you could transfer it to another pension arrangement, right? If you're leaving from one employer to another, you could indicate, I want you to put everything over to that new employer. Or you could say, I want some as cash and I'll take some as a deferred pension. I'll get it when I'm 60 or 65. There are a number of different options, and the investment manager who manages the pension plan, along with your trustees, will be able to help you through your options when you're leaving an employer. Yes. And also equally help you with options if you're when you reach retirement. But I will tell people now, if you get a cash component, especially if you get a cash component in a termination scenario, not when you're at retirement, because at retirement, it's okay to take a little cash at the time of retirement, because sometimes moving from working life into, you're not formally working, you might need a little cash to kind of help you through, and you have your pension that you will get additionally. So you can get a 25% lump sum as cash. You take that, ease you into the retirement years, and then you start getting your monthly pension payment. Okay, so that's when you've gone all the way, you've saved in a pension plan, you've done it the right way, right in quotes, you've done it the way we recommend, and you had the opportunity, and it's all great. But then you have times when you leave employment and you've either vested or not vested in the pension arrangement. Vested means you have the right to your employer's contributions. When you're not vested, you don't get the employer's contributions. You have this cash balance that you could get. And a lot of people are enticed to take the cash. They don't want to move the cash to their new employer's pension plan or to one of the retirement scheme providers because, listen, they see this money, it's right there, like, let me take it. And I was faced with that same choice dilemma when I was leaving my first employer. And I wish I could sit here and tell you I was so good about it and so disciplined and sent all of it to my new employer. I didn't. I took I didn't take all of it, but I took 50% and went shopping in New York. No joke, true story. The other 50% I transferred to a retirement scheme. But I cannot point, to the manner of shoes or clothes or books that I bought, because that was so long ago. I can't even tell you what I bought to show that it has not even withstood the test of time. But the money that I left behind to go to the retirement scheme has built up and earned interest, and it's accruing. And I look at it and I say to myself, this could have been double if I had not taken anything out of it. So I want to acknowledge that I understand the temptation. I experienced it. I succumbed partially to the temptation to take the cash. But I have lived to see that money, I can't point to what benefit I really got from it. There's nothing that I can identify to say I bought with that money that has continued to serve me. But the money that I've saved...
You got a great lesson, and you're now passionate.
I got a great lesson.
And you're now passionate, so you can...
Even more so, and I want
disciples.
Exactly, and I want your listeners to know that I get it. I get the temptation. But believe me when I tell you, you will not regret leaving that money. You won't regret it. Yes. And whatever you think you need to buy with that money, of course, I don't know everybody's individual situations. I don't know what is an emergency, what's urgent. In my case, it was discretionary. I did not need to take it. But I chose to because I was like, this is a lot of money. And in my little, 7-year practice in our brain, I was like, okay, this is great. Let me take some of it. I just want to encourage people to try their best to resist that temptation. Just that pension money, it's just untouchable. Move it across to, right. However, I will say all of that, say all about untouchable.
Yes.
I will acknowledge, though, that we live in a situation where we just got hit by a Category 5 hurricane.
So, yes.
We have been told that with climate change, we don't know, this may become more
I would say assess it with sober mind and get some advice.
Yes, right. And so
have to take my final break from this segment. Soon come, you hear?
Okay, sure.
This is 94.5 FM.
The Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, transforming education for national development. The time by Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information is
2:45.
Hey, my peeps, get this on the regular. Your HIV status if you consider. At least if you test once a year. Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Cause it might not show up on your timeline and you learn too late, so you're out of time. A progressive future, mandatory. Real long life, our story. You hear?
Remember, update your status in a real life. Go HIV test today.
Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Real long life, our story. Real long life with a youth coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Living in shared spaces can bring challenges. That's why the Commission of Strata Corporations facilitates fair dispute resolution. Whether you're a proprietor or representing the corporation, you can apply using our online form. Our neutral forum allows issues to be fully aired and resolved under the guidance of the Act. We may also issue orders on matters like demolition of extensions, removal of unauthorized vehicles or animals, and varying excessive maintenance contributions. Apply for dispute resolution with the Commission today. Visit reb.gov.jm for more information.
This is your Radio Jamaica.
is the man. Dralambe, 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 Trampala.
It's Palav on Radio Jamaica 94 FM, and it's the long bench. And it does appear as if, yes, we hit a chord because it's about life. It's about life, about quality of life. It's about choices. And it does not hurt when you have a knowledgeable and a passionate advocate of this thing that is affecting us all away, who have made good choices, bad choices, and hopefully not stuck with the bad choices and weeping, but realize, okay, so that wasn't smart. Next. Because some of us, I come from the overthinkers club, but I now understand. I mean, well, I would have said too late, but not too late because I'm not yet dead. So I have been able to benefit from recognizing that you can't just overthink everything. And so balance things a little more and also take counsel. That's the important thing, to take advice from where the advice is trusted. All right. There are a couple things here. Oh, somebody says, good afternoon, great discussion. What would happen if one already is an ARS when they join ABC, just using example, employer, who has a pension plan? Can they or are they expected to terminate the ARS to conform with the statutory maximum of 20%? It's not statutory. Oh yeah, the maximum. Got you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good question. So if you were in a approved retirement scheme, that's what ARS stands for.
Gotcha.
And that would be your JMMB retirement scheme, NCB, Guardian, Proven, etc. Right? So if you're in those, and all, like I said, all the financial houses have. So Scotia, Sagicor, Barita, etc. So I'm just using these as examples. So you're a part of the retirement scheme, you've been contributing, and then you join a company, ABC Limited, and they have a superannuation fund. You don't have to move your money. You can leave that balance in the retirement scheme, but you cannot continue to contribute to it while you are now actively contributing to ABC Limited, your new employer's pension plan.
Makes sense.
So that balance can sit there, or you can move it over to your new employer if you wish, and everything is in one pot in your new employer, or you can just leave it there. But you can't keep putting money there. You can only actively contribute to one arrangement at a time, as the law stands right now. We anticipate that will change when the Pensions Act is amended. Yes.
Got you. Great question. So happy that you threw your hat in the ring there, because I learned something, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that learned something. We're learning stuff. We go to school today, and it's good school because it's life school. Life skills. Here's another one. Says, hi, Gerry. Happy Reggae Month. Well, same to you. And to your guest, happy Reggae Month to you too, Ms. Goffe. Finding information on retirement very informative, educational. Some Jamaicans do work on the overseas seasonal program. While working in these countries, they contribute to social security pension plans. Can they still contribute to the private ones while in Jamaica? I think there's an overlap there, right?
Yes, and I want to say that that's a little bit nuanced, because I understand that when that letter is written, I do know that I don't want to go too much into that one, because I do know I've seen letters written by the ministry that have allowed people to continue to contribute to their NIS while they are, but I don't know if that's a general posture of the Ministry of Labour where they say that, or if there were specific circumstances where if you are allowed to contribute. I don't think you would be contributing to the private sector pension, but generally the NIS contributions, I believe, continue. So I don't think that whatever you're doing in the overseas social security arrangement ought not to prejudice your ability to contribute to the private sector pensions, though I don't think people generally do that.
Got it. It makes sense, because you can't play with a thing called money. It is everything and it is nothing, in the sense that if you make the wrong move, it can just, as a friend of mine would have said, it's evaporate out and gone.
Right. And I think there's an income tax, actually, now that I reflect on it a little bit more, there is an income tax provision that may actually make you unable to contribute to because of the income tax arrangement to the private sector pension, meaning like the retirement scheme, etc. But you can continue with NIS and whatever the Canadian government or the US government would deduct.
Got you. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's coming back to me
Okay.
now because
Yeah.
yeah, TAJ actually did right on the point. Now that I'm remembering, because it had come up before
Yes.
in a matter I had. Yes.
Wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. Wow. What are some of the myths that circulate around pensions and misinformation? Because I know when somebody kind of say, me know because me did have an auntie way. That's when I turn out, because if that's your source of information, you lean towards your family, but that don't say it's necessarily true. You know, or one
Well,
at a time me did. You listen
mhm,
patiently and respectfully and then go check it out.
mhm. One of the biggest myths, I think one of the biggest myths people or misunderstandings people have is that they can use their pension plan, their pension benefit as collateral in a loan arrangement. There are I know vendors of motor vehicles who will allow you to pay for the motor vehicle over time. So almost you get a loan from the very vendor of the car, and any of these motor sales companies, and that documentation sometimes will have information that's this kind of catch-all that you're pledging, and you pledge your pension. I've seen it from before. You can't pledge your pension benefit as collateral for a loan. You can't currently now withdraw any of it as cash because you're going through hardship, though we expect amendments, and we support amendments that allow controlled withdrawals in certain circumstances, like a Hurricane Melissa, like a COVID, like a disability that you've experienced, etc. Controlled withdrawals, but we don't have that yet. That's not yet law. That's supposed to come. But people think, I can get some money out of my pension plan. I can almost like it's a bank account. No, that's not allowed. People think you can pledge it as an asset, as collateral in a loan. You're not allowed to do that. In fact, it is void. If you have done it, no, it just can't happen. It's just not lawful. It will not be effective. It just will not happen. You can't do it. Again, consistent with the kind of sacrosanct view that the legislators place on pensions. It is to assist you in retirement. It's not to take the place of insurance for yourself or your home. It's not a long-term savings scheme where you can kind of dip in and dip out. It is a retirement benefit for when you hit retirement, yes. A lot of people, another myth and misunderstanding I'd say is that people think the retirement age for NIS must align with your employer retirement age. The employer will have a retirement age between 60 and 65. NIS is different. NIS is at the 65. So it's different. So they have little things like that. But the biggest myth is that pensions is confusing. People think pensions is some kind of confusing, scary area. It is not. You just need to take the time, take a deep breath, and listening to programs like these. Go on the website, PIAJ website, listen to your investment manager. The information is there and it's easy to break down. Just take your time. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think most people have a kind of an odd relationship with money. We're not scared of
Yes.
it, we want it, but it's certain thing. So once it happens, this is why we've started to do more conversations like this in a setting like Palav. 'Cause Palav is supposed to be just, sit down and reason and so on. And so you don't have that kind of you know, with the government speak, where
Yes.
they don't say situation, they say situation, and they quote subsection so and so, number so and so. By the time they reach the next so me asleep because I'm a 4-year-old at heart. Me like excitement and vibe. Me not no
Well, I
behavior.
hope I was able to
Me
Palav
not,
with your listeners.
yes, me not no behavior. And I think most of us have that inner child. We don't need the thing to just say the way it's set. And that is what I
Yes.
appreciate even the most. You are giving us stuff that is technically accurate with both compassion and enthusiasm, and also helping us to to avoid the real scary stuff, which is the bad
Yes.
move, or the
Yes.
attitude that,
Agreed.
yes. And when you're vested in kind of being vulnerable enough to share your own missteps, that is precious gold.
I appreciate that,
It's
Gerry.
not who you are, is what something you once did, and it may work out. So please don't try it.
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
yes.
you don't
And
have
I
to
really
wag
need
your
to
finger at
commend you.
anybody. Yeah.
Yes, I commend you for creating spaces like these for us to have these conversations, and I really applaud your commitment to doing more of these segments with other participants. To give your listeners a full picture on all of these kind of financial issues that they could be facing. I love that.
Yeah, man. What will be your last lick? Got 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh. So my last lick is really a general appeal to your listeners to get sorted out. Again, if you're okay, that's fine, but encourage those around you. I want to say to those who are in positions like I sit in, where you can advance policy and make changes in your spaces. You don't have to be sitting in pulpits or having ministerial positions in order to make an impact. Where you are, your little space, light your lamp in your space and encourage people to make fiscally disciplined decisions. I'm sure if my husband is listening to this, he must be laughing because he knows he's often having to battle with me. But the reality is that we have to make these decisions. It will count in the long term, and it will make a difference for our children so that they don't have to look after us. Because one thing I tell you is a myth that we have to do away with, that we pick names with pension. That is not the case. We don't want that. All right. And we want to break that intergenerational dependence that we have that prevails in our country. So that's my parting.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sanya Goffe, President of the Pension Industry Association of Jamaica. Our final song is dedicated to you. It's from Elaine, and it's called You Give Me Hope. You gave all of us hope, and we thank you so much.
Thank you for blessing me with that. Thank you. I had a good time.
All righty. Good.
All right. Take care. Bye.